Winnipeg was one of 4 WHA teams offered a spot in the NHL in the late 70s. Of the others, Quebec now calls Denver home, while both the Hartford Whalers and the Edmonton Oilers have been on the verge of leaving town several times. Still, there were some good times in all 4 cities, especially Edmonton, of course. But Winnipeg can lay claim to having seen some pretty entertaining hockey over its NHL lifespan. To comment on today's news of the Jets officially making the move to Phoenix is TSN's Winnipeg correspondent, Scott Taylor. Scott, it's now official. The Jets are leaving Winnipeg after this season to move to Phoenix. This has been a long time in coming, but at the same time, do you think the folks back in Winnipeg are taking this kind of hard today?
I don't know whether they're taking it hard today. I think they've taken it hard all season long. And as you know, in Toronto, the attendance has been very poor in Winnipeg all year. They're averaging about 9,200 per game, although they had a great crowd from Montreal. The fact of the matter was most of the fans in the arena were cheering for the Canadiens. So it's been a very, very disappointing year. People knew it was coming probably midway through July, and all of this today is just the reality of a big thud that took place when the season started.
Now, this was a very emotional issue last summer when the Spirit of Manitoba did everything it could to raise money and try to keep the team in Winnipeg. Now there doesn't seem to be a lot of emotion anymore. It almost seems that what people are talking about is purely financial, and how much money are the taxpayers of Manitoba going to be on the hook for at the end of this season? Is that really the dominant issue in Winnipeg right now?
Well, I don't even think people are talking about that anymore. I think people are just very depressed about losing this hockey team. I mean, the point of the matter is that there was a ceremony last May. The team was gone. There was every opportunity at that time to have closed the deal with Stephen Gluckstern and Richard Burke. There was no reason why the Jets had to spend another year in Winnipeg, although the community, 35,000 strong, came out to the Forks and rallied, put up about $17 million and said, look, we want this hockey team. Unfortunately, it was just a horrible deal, and there was horrible infighting. Spirit of Manitoba just refused to listen to the National Hockey League, refused to use the majority owners to help them get in the league, made it a very, very difficult summer for everybody, and in the end failed miserably trying to keep the team in Winnipeg. And that's basically cost the city of Winnipeg anywhere between $20 and $25 million, the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba, who have had this horrible deal since 1991, where they have to pick up the losses. What's most interesting now is that in 1991, when this interim operating agreement was signed, the agreement that said that the province and the city would pick up the team's losses until the end, basically, of the 1996-97 season, although they won't have to do that now. Back when it was signed, there was an arena deal on the table that would have been satisfactory, which was as good as the arena that was planned this summer, for $65 million guaranteed. Now we're in a situation where the governments of the province and the city are almost going to pay out $65 million in losses, and what they've got at the end is no hockey team and no arena. The deal was horrible. The summer was difficult, and now basically citizens have thrown up their hands and said this is just a bad, bad time in the history of the city, and let's just forget it.
And almost good riddance to the team instead of having to pay another 20 or 25 million?
I don't think it's good riddance to the team. I think it's just good riddance to the politicians, to the people who didn't handle the situation very well. I think that most of the hockey fans in Winnipeg, Dan, have been very supportive of the team. 9,000 people coming out to watch a lame duck hockey club, I think, says a lot about the people who care about hockey in the city.
What I'm getting at, though, is that if the team had stayed for 96, 97, if Colangelo and Phoenix don't show up, then maybe it's another 20 or 25 million in debt.
Oh, maybe even more than that next year. You know that salaries are rising all the time. $733,000 was the average salary last year, $850 this year, probably $1 million next year. It might have cost the city even more money. So in that case, you're right, Dan, it was a break.
Scott, the Jets talk about trying to eliminate the distractions of the move, which has now happened, and just concentrating on their on-the-ice performance. They got a better record now than they did at this point last season. Do you think they've done a good job in eliminating all those distractions?
Yeah, I think they've done a tremendous job, and if it's anybody's fault, the continuation of the distraction, it's our fault, the press, television, radio. I mean, we continue to talk about it constantly because the fans do. The players, I think, have done an extremely good job. They've not harped on it. They will answer the questions when the questions are asked, but I think they would all prefer not to have the distraction. And throughout the season, that has not been an excuse. And I think Chris King had a lot to do with that as captain of the Jets this year. He held a team meeting early in the season, and he told them there will be no excuses. He will not accept excuses as captain of the hockey team, because for the last 12 or 13 years in Winnipeg, all of the energy of the hockey franchise has gone to trying to get an arena built and save the team. That's gone now. There's no sense worrying about it. These guys are professional athletes who have to play hard because they have contracts to worry about. Ed Olczyk, for instance, is on a termination contract. These guys have to play as hard as they can in order to keep their jobs. And I think that they've tried to do that and have provided pretty good entertainment for Winnipeg hockey fans this year.
What about the International Hockey League? Is that going to be any kind of a go?
Well, yeah, they're going to go. It's a difficult thing for a lot of us who know the people that are involved in the team. Jeff Thompson, who's the president of Woody Sports Apparel, and Mark Chipman, the president of the Birchwood Automotive Group, and Thomas Steen, the former Jet, are trying to put this hockey team together. It's about a $10 or $12 million investment. They're working extremely hard, but I think even they agree that what needed to happen was a dark year, a year for the hockey fans to get over the loss. I think next year it's going to be very, very difficult. You can tell hockey fans right now are pretty bitter about what's happened, and I think it's going to be tough to bring in the second best league in North America after fans here have seen the best hockey players in the world. It's not going to be an easy season next year.
So there will be, whether or not the IHL shows up next year, the year after that, or even a few years down the road, it's not going to be a replacement for the Winnipeg Jets. It's just going to be the best alternative that they can find.
You're right, Dan, no question about that. You just can't, in 4 months, take away Wayne Gretzky and Teemu Selanne and replace it with Dave Christian and Michel Mongeau. It just doesn't work. It's going to be a very, very tough year for the owners of the new IHL team to be able to sell this club to the people of Winnipeg, and it's not going to be easy at all.